I have the honor and privilege of interviewing exclusively with the Chief of Police, Mike Tamez. Chief of Police for the Robstown Police Department, sir. How are you? Thank you for this interview, for this opportunity to talk with you today. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Every day is a good day at the police department for me. Good, bad, and different. It's always a good day for me. So I'm doing well, and I truly appreciate this opportunity. I follow you, and I know about the show, and I know how great it is for the community, and it's a great opportunity, man, for us to be able to put this together. And the best part, we're going to focus on sports. Yeah. So I'm doing great. I appreciate you for doing this. I really do. Thank you.
Well, absolutely, sir. It's a total talking point right now in sports. Being Major League Baseball's opening day, do you have a favorite Major League Baseball team, sir, that you want to share publicly
I do.
for our fans?
I do. All right. So it's a sore subject with me sometimes, man. I'm a big Astros fan. All right. But my daughter's godfather, his brother, his younger brother, plays for the Royals, Nick Lofton. So I'll tell you, man, I I told Nick, I said, you're the reason I pay all the money I do for the MLB channel, right? So I can watch his games all the time, and so I like watching the Royals now as well. So, but Houston's my favorite baseball team, and I hope they have the crew this year that can get them over the hump and into another World Series. So I hope.
Absolutely, sir. One can hope, especially for the Astros trying to make a turnaround this season. But now focusing now on Robstown baseball. Have you been to a game yet, sir, at Steve Concert Field?
I have, yes. I went to Saturday's game against Flower Bluff. I was there during the whole game. Yeah, it was difficult. But I think the best part about it, and I really took something from it. We listened to the coach's interview the other day after the Tolosa Midway game, and I'll tell you what, man, these children, these kids that are playing baseball, they have no clue how blessed they are to have a coach who can stand in front of your audience and say, "This is on me. This is on me." Right? It takes a lot, man, from a leader to say that, and it's unfortunate that it does. But the example, I mean, these kids can lose every single game from here on out, but the example they have in that coach is something that's going to live through for the rest of the rest of their livelihood, man. They'll always refer back to, especially when they're playing Robstown baseball, right? But I love the guy's mindset when we talk about that. I had the honor to go speak with these young men, and you can see a lot of similarities between the success that they look for and the success we look for. It's a challenge, it's a team effort, and I love the team. I think it's a great team, man. I think they just need to get together and, like listening to coach, everything they do get in practice needs to reflect in the game, and I think that's a great point. But again, I love the fact that the coach himself takes ownership from that. I have a saying on my computer on my wallpaper is anytime our officers succeed, they're the reason for the success. Anytime our officers fail, I'm the reason for the failure, right? And that's something that you have to accept as a leader that when your people fail, the first person you need to look at to see who failed them is the guy in the mirror because you could have done better as a leader. And the coach recognizes that, man. And I think that's why moving forward, it's going to be an incredibly, incredibly successful program. Love what the guy is doing. I know there's a lot of issues at the very beginning, but I've been with their team. I've been in the locker room with their team, and I've seen the motivation, man. And God, I talked about a military story when I was in there, right? And I told them, I said this, man, and you can see it in these kids' eyes that they truly are bought into this and they believe it. I also think it comes with the culture of Robstown, the baseball culture, right? That I said, what makes a high performing team, like, and I referred to the military, so I'm a former Marine, and so I refer to the military a lot. I said, like the Delta Force guys, there is no higher tier in special operations than Delta Force. They're the tip of the tip of the very spear, right? But they also believe one thing: they earn the right to be on that team, and it's a very very difficult process. When I see difficult, they'll have about 150 people try out. Some of their graduating classes have only been one or two people that are left, right? And these guys are like they're like the professional sports teams to the rest of the military. The way they're treated, they have their own doctors, they have their own physical therapists, they go with them overseas. It's like that, right? What I told these kids is even at that level where they're the only team, the only unit that can be directed by the president to go do operations like that overseas, they know that every single day could be the day they get booted out of that program. Even it doesn't matter if they've been there 20 years, even 20 years. Every single day there is their tryout day, right? So for these guys to keep that success going, they truly believe that if you're not doing something better to better yourself every day, you can get booted off this team. Doesn't matter how many years you have, no matter how many deployments, wars, your experiences, you can be out of here. So they earn it every single day. And that's what I was telling these kids, man. And when you're doing that, we're looking at them, and you can see that they grasp onto that. Like they get it. They get it. There should never be an expectation when you come, especially with Robstown baseball, right? These kids are come out the womb playing baseball in this city, man. It's crazy, but it's the culture is awesome, man. To see the community like band around that, and to see how much these kids love that they live in they're blessed to live in a community that has given them this opportunity to shine at a different level where other cities and other states won't do that. This place does it, right? And so when we had that conversation with these kids, man, you can see that these kids fundamentally believe that this isn't a program where just because you played this position last year and you had a good game, that you're going to play the position or a good season, you're not going to play that same position this year. Why? Because this coach has put a line in the sand and said, you're going to earn every spot on this team. You're going to earn them all. They're not going to be given to you. They're going to be earned, right? And if during the season, as it progresses, if you start making mistakes, I don't care who you are, you're not going to play on that field, right? And what does that do to these kids? Well, it makes them want to work harder, but it also adds a different level of humility that some folks need, man. And you can see in those kids' eyes, like they want it, they really want it. So, and the other cool part was when we were talking about that, the coach said, you know what, we just talked about this, like that same mantra, right? Just talked about it the previous week, talking about that, how we just continuously get better. We never settle for good. And that right there, man, is that's how you not only get these kids great in sports, but you make that lasting impact for the rest of their lives. I mean, I graduated a very long time ago, and I can still remember stuff my coach told me then. I'm sure you can too, and I'm sure Sergeant Gonzalez says, but we all can, and that's crazy that we can do that, right? I can't remember what my told me to buy last week at HEB when I was there, but I can remember something that happened 35 years ago in high school. It's wild, man. So I'm glad. I love watching the team. Love the motivation. And the best part, man, I love seeing a community that surrounds itself around this program. That's just it's not very common. It's cool. It's cool to watch. So yeah, that's how I feel about this team right now.
Well, taking that apart here, what's the best Major League Baseball game you have seen?
Ooh, great question, man. Um, oh gosh, when was it? The Astros' last trip to the World Series, 2, 3 years ago. So I went to the game when they won the conference. Yeah, yeah, and man, incredible game. I mean, incredible game. I had a blast there at that game. The excitement, the excitement, man, the motivation, the crowd, just watching it all come together. I was there with my wife and my daughter, man, and neither one of those two watch baseball, but good lord, you would have thought it was like they were pros, man. They watch this nonstop. So that game for me, and I've been to a bunch of Astros games, but that game for me was like the pinnacle game for me because it's not every person gets to see that. Not every person gets to see them have a stage taken out, and on the field, and these guys get a trophy, and they're there, the fireworks and everything going off, man. They're going to the freaking show, man. They're going to the World Series. It was just the coolest thing to see, man. It really was. And for me, that was it. That's unless I go to a World Series game that is that exciting, yeah, this is it for me. I loved it, man. So that game was for me, yeah.
Well, that's quite a memory to share. Thank you for that, sir. Now, can the fans of Robstown at Steve Costler Field expect to see their police chief at the next Robstown baseball game. And now that is going to be tomorrow night, weather permitting, of course. Robstown versus Kingsville. What do you say to
Oh,
that, sir?
oh man. All right. So that's a tough one, right? I'm from Kingsville. So I played sports in Kingsville every year from, when I was 5 years old, played sports in Kingsville, baseball, football, the whole thing. And bottom line is this: yes, I am always faithful to the Brahmas, always to the core, right? But I also am fully committed to support our team here in Robstown. And if you ask me which side of the field I'm going to sit on, good Lord, man, I'm going to see if I can find a place in the middle so nobody beats me up. My mom doesn't yell at me, and But I will be there to support Robstown. 100%, I'll be there to support Robstown, man. Yeah, I really will. So, go red. I just struggle to come out, man. Yeah, man, that's a horrible thing to do to me. Now they're not gonna let me go into Kingsville anymore, man. I'm gonna get beat up at all the restaurants. Now Kingsville's just like Robstown, man. They're like it's a big sports city. The Brahmas there are just obviously the culture in baseball isn't as big as Rob. I've never seen anything like Robstown, right? But it's a sports city, man. The teams there are really good, and it's just that whole culture. We played against Robstown when I was in high school. But yeah, man, I'm gonna suspend you for saying that.
Well, the fans were anxious about that answer there, sir. And I got to say, you hit an RBI double on that one there.
I will be there to support our red, man. Promise you.
Now, what is your favorite dish or meal to eat when you're watching a high school baseball game like the Robstown Conpickers and or Major League Baseball?
Great question. I'll tell you, it's wings. Buffalo wings. I love watching buffalo. All right, anytime I watch baseball, I'll eat buffalo wings at the house. Luckily, my wife loves them, so she doesn't even know what's going on TV, but that's okay. And as long as I get to eat wings, we're good. And watch baseball, we're good. So wings, man. Might have to sneak some in the field tomorrow. Yeah.
I'll tell you this. That's a good idea to add to our potential menu item. I'll have to talk with Coach
Yeah,
Miller about that
please.
about that
Yeah.
menu item.
After that, I guarantee I'll be at every game. No, I'm excited for tomorrow's game. I'll be there, and I'm excited to be there. I really am.
Do you have any score predictions when it comes to a contest like this? Robstown versus Kingsville at Steve Costler Field, weather permitting, of course, 7 o'clock tomorrow night.
You know, I wish I could tell you I've been following Kingsville's team, but I haven't. I have not. I'm sorry, Kingsville. Sorry about that. But I've seen the Robstown team play, man, and I know they've had a rough last few games, but man, the drive and the culture that's in that locker room, right, and the motivation that these kids have. This, these kids are the type of kids, man, that can turn it around like immediately once they just hit that mark. And I know the coach talked about it. He says, you're just gonna get to that point where it all just clicks together, and once you get there, it's gonna be great season. And talking to those kids, man, and knowing some of them, I could 100% see that. 100% see that. So if this is going to be their turnaround game, man, we're there. I mean, let's support them. Let's cheer for them. Um, let's see how I went around trying not to answer that question. What do you think, man? Is Kings will have a good team this year? Okay, then. Okay, I say Pickers. 5-0. Shut them out. They'll shut them out. They'll shut out.
Well, you heard it there, folks. Police Chief Tamez of the Robstown Police Department predicts a 5-0 win for tomorrow night, weather permitting, at Steve Costler Field against the Kingsville Brahmas. Final question, sir. Being a law enforcement officer, being in a position of that you are in, what is the one motivation that keeps you going at this job, especially with law enforcement and the weight of responsibility of your office? What's the one motivation that drives you? Is it, you know, the Lord? Is it your faith? Is it the service that you were in the United States Marine Corps? Or is it something completely different, like sports, trying to relate it to sports and keeping it going?
But I do think there's a lot of parity in law enforcement sports. Believe it or not, I know some folks might say there's no parallel with it, but there is. I mean, there truly is, right? Just like a sports teams, every day is trying to get better at practice. I mean, look at the majors. Like I've seen my daughter's godfather's brother play. I've seen him play in Houston, and I watch him all the time, right? But I understand something, man. That this kid is. We were joking about the other day. This kid has literally been playing ball since he could walk, right? His entire life, man. But it takes that commitment to be that good. Well, law enforcement's the same thing. Um, the culture has to. These officers have to believe in several things if they're going to get out there to do the job that they have to do. I'm very vocal when I say that our police officers, they put it all on the line every day for citizens they don't even know. And I've seen it firsthand. I have seen it firsthand. I've seen officers go in a house where, we can see dead bodies in the house, and they still go in there, man. The courage it takes to do that, right? But how do we get there? How do we get to that level? And it's no different than in baseball, right? We have to make these officers believe that they have not only the latitude to do their jobs, but be effective at doing their jobs and do it in a way that's going to get them home to their families every day. And no different than baseball, right? They work hard to do what? To win. That's what they do, man, to get better. So they have an entire synergistic program that all works together, right, to get that W. Well, law enforcement does the same exact thing. We do the exact same thing, man. When we start dividing as an agency, where like our one division is saying, no, I don't want to work with this division, there's a problem right there, right? But that's not a problem with this agency. That's the difference, right? This agency believes in we're one big team, right? And I've said it from day one since I got here. If we are going to suffer, we're going to suffer together as a team. If we're short on officers and we got to come out and work for them, we're going to come out and work for them. That's just what we do. The public has an expectation for us to be out there, keeping citizens safe, answering those calls, being available for those calls. Well, unfortunately, we're shorthanded sometimes. So if I have to come in and work a shift for an officer, I'm going to come in and work a shift for an officer. Our command staff officers do. What is any difference between me and them, right? So a lot of it is that example. Look at the parity between that what I just told you and their head coach setting an example like that, right? Like it's incredible, man, what that like mindset and that thinking can do to better the organization. You asked me why I do this, and what's my passion with it. I'll tell you right now. My passion. I see my family, right, miss me all the time. I'm late every day. My family went on vacation without me last year because I couldn't leave. They went to Disneyland, and it was during our budget season, and I just couldn't go. But the number one thing is this: is my wife understood it. We knew the job I was getting into. She knows how passionate I am about my work. She knows that I'm not going to leave till we accomplish what we need to accomplish, and that's just it. She recognizes that. But I know not everybody's like my wife, and I never have an expectation my officers, their wives better be like that, right? And as a matter of fact, I wish they weren't. I mean, but here it is, man. Is I fundamentally believe, I fundamentally believe that as the police chief, and this upsets folks sometimes when I say this, when you ask people what my job is as the chief of police, the expectation that you hear from so many other chiefs is, well, it's to keep our citizens safe. That's the biggest political lie of all time. No, it isn't. I don't get out and risk my life every single day like our officers do, right? So my job as chief of police is to do one thing, and that is to do my best every single day to take care of our officers and their families. So when you ask me what my motivation is, that's it. That's it. It is that to take care of our people. When we got pay raises, our officers, I lost out on a $5,000 pay raise. I refused to take it. So we can get these people paid. That's the commitment we have to make the organization better, right? And it doesn't bother me at all. Like as a leader, these folks in this building, everybody in this building is my priority. So my answer to that is I work 100% to take care of our officers and their families. That's who I work for. I don't. Yes, citizens pay my salary. Yes, at the end of the day, my officers will serve them and answer those calls. But if I do my job well enough and I take care of the officers like I should be, and guess what? When these officers answer those calls, they're gonna do it with a smile. They're gonna do it with pride. They're gonna do it with honor, and they're gonna do it because they want to be here, because they know that they have a chief in this office that is there for them 100% of the time. They have a chief in this office who will fight for them to get everything that they need and everything they want. They have a chief in this office that'll sacrifice that time away to make sure that we take care of our people, right? So that's why I do this. I mean, it's 100% why I do this. I fundamentally believe that we can better the agency, and I know the weight of who we have to take care of. I'll tell you something that's horrible, man. Within the last 365 days, the Harris County Sheriff's Office has suffered 4 deputies to suicide. Think about that. 4 from one agency, right? The job is tough. The memories you have are not great, and they're difficult, and I understand that. I understand that. So when our cops, they need a break or they need to see a counselor, or that's where we jump in and help. And that's my job, is to make sure that they get home and they get to spend time with their family and their kids, right? Because at the end of the day, it may sound like a little cliche-ish, but these men and women, they put their lives on the line every single day for these people, man. For me, there is no greater honor to serve alongside people like that have the courage to knock on a door where somebody says there's a guy in there with a knife trying to stab people. They don't back away, right? They don't. They go in that door and they deal with the problem. The amount of courage it takes to do that, but they have to be confident, they have to feel trained, and they have to have trust in their leadership. And when they do that, we're going to be there for them. And if we do all of those things correctly, these folks, these folks right here will put it all on the line for our citizens without hesitation at all, man. And they do it. I see it every day. I see it every day. So when I work for these folks, everybody in this building, from our custodian to our highest paid officer, right? I work for everybody in here. And that is why I do this job the way that I do this job, because I fundamentally, viscerally, truly love the people that I get to work alongside, because I believe in their mission and I believe in how good they are. And I believe in the potential we have as an agency to continue to get better. And I'll say this, man, I'll close with this, that I get asked this a lot by different chiefs and stuff. Um, how's your city council with you? Right? I get asked that a lot. Believe it or not, man, I do. Do they support you guys? How are they? Because let me tell you about this. They don't support us, and we hear that a lot. It's unfortunate, but we do. I've had some arguments with the council members, right? But I think that's healthy for folks like me to be challenged. I understand 100% that I'm not always going to be right, man. And I understand that. I get it. So if it's going to take a city council member squaring me away, so be it. I get that. I get it, because I have the humility to say maybe I am wrong. Maybe I can do better. Maybe we can check this other option, see if it works better, right? But right now, I have never seen the support like we do here from the city council. I can say that with 100% certainty. They have been incredible to the police department. Um, and I think they see the vision that we have for the department and where we want to take it. And because of that, and because of the hard work that our men and women do, um, they've been great to us, man. They really, really have. And I can tell you, this is not something that's reflective anywhere else. Like, there's a lot of issues with some city councils. We're not always going to get along. We're not always going to say the right things, and I'm going to get challenged, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, man, um, when people ask, is there a concern for public safety? Do they take care of you guys enough, your council members, where they care about public safety? My answer, 100%. Absolutely, they do. They help us out with whatever they can, man. And I'm truly blessed with that. I truly, truly am blessed with that. Um, and where's the parallel? Everybody in Robstown takes care of its baseball players, man. There's your parallel right there, man. Everybody takes care of them. And that's why this place has always been so successful and turned out some incredible athletes, man. Really have, you know. And so, I know it's a long answer, but there's a lot in there, um, because I am very passionate about our officers, about taking care of our folks and taking care of our community and stuff. So it's not easy just to say, it's my, I do this for my officers and their families. But at the end of the day, that's exactly why we do this. No different than why the coach does what he does in baseball, because he wants success. He wants success. And what I love about it, I should have said this earlier, is these kids on that team. I know that there's been a few that have been upset because they didn't get to start or they didn't get to do this or that, right? But here's a point: is if we tell our kids that just because you were on this team last year, you get to start, we, as parents, are 100% set them up for failure. You should never have an expectation like that, right? Because you get complacent and you don't have the same drive, you don't have this, you don't have that. Well, what made Michael Jordan the greatest basketball player of all time? I'll tell you what, when he didn't make the team his freshman year in high school. If you read all about him, I have a book up there just about Jordan's mindset. And yeah, that's what drove him to be so just passionate, right? And this obsession that he had to win and to make these teams. What's the difference between Jordan's mindset and what we can develop here? None. Absolutely none. But it comes down to the individual, and from what I've seen from these kids, man, it's going to be an incredible program. I know a lot of them are still pretty young, right? A lot of them are still real young. So I think we had a sophomore pitching. That's amazing, man. Like, think about that. Freshman and sophomore pitching against teams like Cal Allen, undefeated team, just an incredible team. The coach had enough confidence. Think about that. Like, really dive into that. He had enough confidence, man, to put this kid against an undefeated, really, really good team. But that's what it takes to win. And you know what? This kid, he might not win a lot of games this season. But what it did is give him the confidence to get better. And it built the trust that he needs to have from his coach to believe that this guy cares about me enough. He let me pitch against some incredible teams, man. And that's where the strength lies in the program. And I think that's why this program is going to be really successful, man. And I hope to God I'm still the chief at the agency to be able to get to see that. I hope to God, man, I'd love to see that. All right, so I can wear my little. I have that cap and I have another one at my house that I told him I'm going to wear one of these days of the game. But yeah, man, I love watching these kids play, man. I really do. I really do. And plus, one of our sergeants has a kid in the game, and it's awesome, man. It's awesome to see. Really enamored with what these guys do. So, a long answer. I know we got a little bit off, but I just love talking about these guys. I really do.
Well, that right there, Chief, what we would call the Grand Slam answer. And truer words were never spoken. No, thank you, sir, for allowing us to grant us this interview, this exclusive interview. Once again, Chief Mike Tamez, sir, it was an honor, and we hope to get to do this again later on down the year or whichever the case may be. But thank you so much for your time today.
Got one last thing. Go Red, beat the Brahmas.
You heard him, folks. You heard him. You heard him. Thank you all so very much for joining us live here at Robstown Police Headquarters here. Chief Tamez saying go Red, folks. You heard him. Thank you so much. God bless.